Hey everyone, welcome back to HD Reddit Reads. Today's topic is, when did the popular kid's life fall apart in a few seconds? Let's get into it. Unfortunately, a cheerleader from my school had a four-wheeling accident that left her in almost a vegetative state. Through years and years of hard work on her part, she's been able to gain a little more independence. However, she'll never be exactly the same as she was before the accident. It's really sad and crazy how quickly your life can change from an accident. I graduated in '95, and shortly after, my mom asked if I knew this girl. I said yes. She showed me the obituaries. Apparently, she was a passenger on a four-wheeler and the driver was speeding and made a sharp turn, which resulted in her coming off the bike and straight into a tree. Died instantly. And that was a big-time reality hit for me. Fresh out of school and a girl I knew died. 3 popular kids went swimming in a quarry. Only 2 came out. It sucks because the one that died was popular for all the right reasons. He was a genuinely good dude. I was the weird kid, but his locker was right next to mine and he was very friendly every single day to every single person. I don't know that his life fell apart, because it turns out his home life was terrible all along. But it definitely shifted how people looked at him. And I went to a small school, so there weren't too many divisions between people. When you only have 40-something kids in a grade, popular is kind of relative. But the kid's mom decided to leave her husband. The kid's stepdad, the stepdad who was known to faculty and was considered a good guy, stopped by the school to deliver something to his stepson. Cool. The secretary gave him a pass to drop it off at his stepson's class. Rather than call him down to the office, the stepdad actually had a gun and had no idea where his stepson was during that period, so was roaming the halls. Luckily, a friend of the stepson, who knew what an abusive and dangerous guy the stepdad was, happened to be in the office and alerted everyone. We all went into lockdown. The police came. We were stuck for a couple hours as they swept the school after arresting the guy. Then, it came out that the kid who had been abused for the entire time, his mom had been married to the guy, and she only was leaving him after he started hitting her. It was a whole thing, and while everyone had pretty much always liked the kid, he suddenly just had everyone feeling sorry for him. Teachers let him go back and redo assignments to boost his grade. People gave him stuff to start over. He just kind of got really closed off and stopped joking around and only hung out with like 3 people after that. He was known as the abused kid with a stepdad who was going to shoot up the school, and that's a hard thing to get over. He was an only child and his dad had died when he was 2. He was really happy-go-lucky, and he was popular because he was outgoing, supportive, warm, and kind to everyone without fail. And although he was friends with the kinds of kids who bully people, he was the first person to tell them to knock it off when he saw it. When we were 16, his mom, who was one of the nicest ladies I've ever met in our small town, was crushed to death by a semi-trailer that drifted into her lane. He dropped out of school, he stopped talking to anybody, and refused to let anyone visit him. I have no idea what became of him. Sorry, Jay. I hope your life got better. My brother was a popular kid in high school. He was loved by everyone, and most of the people I graduated with know him, but since he had a different last name, didn't know that we were related until I told them. He started pills in high school, then coke, then heroin, in and out of jail, forced into rehab instead of serving jail time. Lived in our mom's basement until he was 30. He finally moved out, but my parents pay his rent. He's a year sober now, though. The captain of the football team underwent surgery his senior year. I was 13 on the middle school team. His younger brother and I were very close, so I was around him a lot. So I looked up to him like an older brother. He drove me to early practices, was very smart, dated a pretty cheerleader, not a mean bone in his body. He had it all. For a 13-year-old, he was my hero. After his surgery, he got hooked on painkillers. He went from painkillers to heroin. He's been arrested multiple times for theft and drug possession. This went on for years. I would always ask my friend from middle school how he was doing. It never got better. He died last year. Drugs suck. I miss my hero. I'm not sure I would call him a popular kid, but in some circles he was. He was a bit of an arrogant ass in my opinion, but had money and liked to spread it around. His dad was a wealth manager. Lots of friends / family / community members were clients. A few years after high school, it came out that the dad had embezzled millions. Their entire wealth was stolen from friends and family. This rocked him hard. Dad went to jail and he changed his name and totally became a different person. I saw him after that and barely recognized him. His personality and even his posture was different. I felt really bad for him. I ended up having a really good talk with him and I can only imagine what he has gone through. This guy I used to hang out with in elementary school was pretty overweight, but I had the biggest crush on him. I lost track of him for a few years, but in high school he came back and lost all the weight. He was pretty athletic and was generally well liked. I didn't talk to him, but the guy seemed decent. I guess he was driving like an idiot. The year after he graduated, he wrapped his car around a pole. They had to use the jaws of life to pull him out of the car, but it was too late. He died on impact. There had been multiple reports that night of people calling the cops and complaining about his reckless driving around the town. I just remember that chubby little boy I used to spend recess with every day. I actually ran into one of the super popular kids at a local bar when I came home from college. She would never give me the time of day in high school, and I for sure thought she didn't even know I existed. But she approached me at the bar, super drunk, and said, "Hey, didn't I go to high school with you?" And then proceeded to tell me that she wished that she had been nicer to more people in high school, and that she has no idea what she's doing with her life. Honestly, it feels good to know that she's thought about how she treated people back then. Not sure if that's the norm or just a weird occasion. Lost control of his car when he and his best friend were driving to Taco Bell at night. He came out of it with a fractured collarbone. His friend died on the spot. He was really close with his friend's parents too, and vice versa. He made a few posts on Facebook on how he was an idiot and how he was sorry. The dead friend's sister and parents made it very clear they didn't blame him. It was winter, black ice, and he was 100% sober. Before, he was a stereotypical popular dude with a wholesome way. Dropped out of school and became addicted to painkillers. Don't know what happened to him afterwards, but it was just sad for everyone. His dad died. It was really shitty. Before that, he was popular, but also smart, motivated, and a great athlete, and actually a great guy in person. As much as you can be till you're 15. Then his dad died right before he was going to have a football game. Heart attack in the shower before they were going to leave. We heard about it later, and basically from there, everything seemed to decline. He became angry, as you could expect. I think looking back, you'd expect a decline in everything at first. But he just spiraled deeper and deeper. We didn't see him for a while. When I did catch up with him later in high school, he'd been so into drugs his brain literally seemed fried. It was sad for every reason. Her mom was diagnosed with dozens of brain tumors the beginning of our senior year, and died before Christmas. Girl went from stable, well-off, and beautiful to a wreck, then off the map. After that, we lost 4 students violently, including 2 sisters stabbed by their stepdad. Staff quit. Pretty much no one in our senior class made it in life. Suicides followed graduation. 1999 was a really tough year for that school. Had this cliff that was really dangerous, and to keep kids away, the genius locals spread around the rumor that it was haunted. Naturally, the cool kids wanted to go there like all the time. Once the gang of those supposedly cool kids, 4 in total, went there and no one really knows what happened. One kid jumped to his death. The stories of the rest didn't pan out correctly. Each one had a different version. They were high, no one was jailed, but all 3 were depressed and eventually spiraled out of control. One OD'd 2 years ago, and one was in a car accident, drunk, and one committed suicide. In the 8th grade, there was a really popular kid in my school that was the head of the football team. He was also a huge bully, would beat up nerds for no reason, or at least twice a week. One day, he either got drunk or high and jumped off a bridge as a prank. I'm not sure how he didn't know that the lake he jumped into was riddled with underwater trees, as you can see some branches during the daytime. Either way, I don't think his body was found. Our school held a huge memorial for him, but I always remember him as a bully. 6'3" football player, drug dealer, and general shitbag got arrested 2 weeks before going to college. His family was really poor, but he had a full ride. In spite of his obvious drug habits, selling to middle schoolers, and various other shitty extracurriculars, somehow his record gets swept under the rug in time to still go. Much like his high school GPA. Halfway through the first semester, he gets shot in the gut at a drug deal that went wrong. He survived, and last I heard he got picked up by another college. I have no idea how he graduated high school, let alone how he got away with the rest of it. I guess in the South, being good at football takes you almost anywhere. As far as I know, he hasn't fallen apart yet, but it seems to be only a matter of time. When I was in 5th grade, back in the 1960s, there was a kid in our class named Lawrence. He was the best student in our class, always finished math tests way before anyone else, and was the best athlete, so picked first for every sport team. One day, during class, a lady from the principal's office came in, whispered something to our teacher, and then the 2 of them escorted Lawrence out into the hallway. A few minutes later, our teacher returned and told us that Lawrence's father had been killed in Vietnam when the helicopter he was in got shot down. Lawrence never returned to our school. My older brother was in Nam at that time. He made it back safe. That was the day the full reality of war really hit me. There was this kid that I went to high school with, almost 20 years ago, who was 2 grades ahead of me, seemed like the popular kid. He had a hot girlfriend, he was really funny, decent at sports, and didn't seem to have issues. Anyways, turned out that one day, his mom came home to him laying in the basement with a bullet wound in his head. I was told he used a shotgun to kill himself, but loaded a birdshot. Because of this, he didn't die. I now see him walking around town, and he can't speak anymore, and walks as if he had a stroke. One side of his body doesn't work properly. Really sad, and that's all I can think about anytime I drive around and see him walking. You never know what people actually feel inside. You might wish you could be someone else because everything seems so perfect, but rarely that is ever the case. Thank you for listening, everyone. If you enjoyed the content, please consider subscribing. It'll be greatly appreciated. And if you want to visit the original thread, I'll link it in the description. But yeah, that's it. I'll see you guys in the next one.